Before a consumer alert for you, a company's recalling its brand of tabletop fire pits after reports of serious injuries.
WBTV consumer investigator Caroline Hicks is breaking down the latest from the Consumer Product Safety Commission.
A company named Colsen is recalling 7 models of these fire pits, a total of almost 90,000 of them. According to the Consumer Product Safety Commission, the alcohol flames can be invisible and lead to flame jetting when refilling, which means the fire flashes back to the alcohol container, propelling burning alcohol onto people in the vicinity. It can also spill, and the fire can spread into larger flames that can escape the unit. The recall alert says burns caused by the product can be serious and deadly. So far, the commission has received 31 reports of this, resulting in 19 burn injuries. 2 of those incidents resulted in third-degree burns to more than 40% of the victims' bodies. At least 6 incidents have involved surgery, prolonged medical treatment, admission to burn treatment facilities, short-term disability, loss of function, physical therapy, or permanent disfigurement. The company issued a statement on the Colsen website urging you to immediately stop using these fire pits and dispose of them. Also saying, do not resell or donate them. It is a violation of federal law to sell or distribute recalled products. I'm Caroline Hicks with your Consumer Solutions. WBTV, on your side.
Caroline, thank you.